Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Today we are discussing a topic that has generated a great deal of attention among followers of the Iraqi dinar. The statement we are analyzing reflects a growing sentiment among many long-time observers who believe that recent developments surrounding Iraq's economy, financial sector, and government reforms are moving at a pace not seen in many years. According to the statement, more progress appears to have been made during the last 4 months than during the previous 15 years combined, creating a sense that Iraq may be approaching a significant economic milestone. At the same time, it is important to approach these developments with a balanced perspective. While acceleration in economic reforms and government initiatives is certainly noteworthy, responsible analysis requires separating verified developments from speculation. The goal is to understand what is actually happening, why it matters, and what the potential implications could be for Iraq's economy and for those who closely follow the Iraqi dinar. One of the most significant themes emerging from Iraq in recent months has been the increasing focus on modernization and economic diversification. For years, Iraq has worked to reduce its heavy dependence on oil revenues. Although oil remains the backbone of government income, policymakers have repeatedly emphasized the need to strengthen non-oil sectors, attract foreign investment, improve banking services, and increase private sector participation in the economy. Recent government announcements and reform initiatives suggest that Iraq continues to pursue these objectives with greater urgency. Banking reforms, digital payment expansion, anti-corruption efforts, infrastructure projects, and attempts to improve the business environment have all received considerable attention. When observers refer to acceleration, these are often the types of developments they are talking about. The banking sector deserves particular attention because it plays a central role in any country's economic transformation. Iraq's financial system has historically faced numerous challenges, including limited international integration, outdated processes, and public reliance on cash transactions. Over the past several years, authorities have introduced measures aimed at increasing transparency, strengthening compliance standards, and encouraging electronic payment systems. The expansion of digital banking and electronic transactions is especially important because it helps create a more modern and efficient financial environment. Increased transparency can improve investor confidence, reduce inefficiencies, and support broader economic growth. These changes may not generate dramatic headlines every day, but they are often essential building blocks for long-term economic stability. Another factor contributing to optimism among dinar followers is Iraq's ongoing effort to improve relationships with international financial institutions and global markets. Countries seeking sustainable economic growth often work to strengthen financial governance, improve regulatory frameworks, and encourage foreign direct investment. Iraq has been pursuing many of these objectives while simultaneously addressing domestic economic challenges. Foreign investment remains one of the key indicators that analysts watch closely. Investors generally seek stable environments, clear regulations, reliable infrastructure, and predictable economic policies. Any progress in these areas can potentially enhance Iraq's attractiveness as an investment destination. Increased investment can contribute to job creation, infrastructure development, and broader economic activity, all of which can support the country's long-term financial health. The statement we are analyzing also mentions a feeling that there may be some kind of deadline approaching. This perception is understandable when multiple reforms appear to be progressing simultaneously. However, it is important to note that governments often accelerate reforms for a variety of reasons. These can include budget cycles, strategic economic plans, international agreements, development objectives, or efforts to address pressing domestic needs. Acceleration does not necessarily mean a specific currency event is imminent. Rather, it may reflect a broader push toward achieving economic goals within a defined time frame. Policymakers frequently establish targets for banking modernization, infrastructure expansion, fiscal reform, or investment growth. When several initiatives advance together, observers may naturally perceive increased urgency. For Iraqi Dinar followers, the key question is how these developments relate to the currency itself. Currency values are influenced by a complex combination of factors, including economic performance, monetary policy, foreign reserves, inflation, trade balances, investor confidence, and overall financial stability. No single reform automatically leads to a major currency adjustment. What reforms can do is strengthen the underlying fundamentals of an economy. Stronger fundamentals can create conditions that support long-term currency stability. Improved governance, enhanced financial transparency, increased economic productivity, and stronger investor confidence are all factors that contribute to a healthier economic environment. Iraq's foreign currency reserves remain an important area of focus. Foreign reserves serve as a financial buffer and help support currency stability. Strong reserve levels provide policymakers with greater flexibility when managing economic challenges. Analysts frequently monitor reserve trends because they offer insight into a country's financial resilience. Oil revenues also continue to play a critical role in Iraq's economic outlook. As one of the world's major oil-producing nations, Iraq benefits significantly from energy exports. Revenue generated from oil sales supports government spending, infrastructure projects, public services, and economic development initiatives. However, dependence on oil also exposes the economy to fluctuations in global energy prices. This is why diversification remains such an important objective. A more diversified economy is generally more resilient because it is less vulnerable to shocks affecting a single sector. Development of industries such as manufacturing, agriculture, logistics, tourism, and technology can contribute to sustainable growth over time. The perception that unprecedented progress is occurring should be viewed within this broader context. Many reforms currently underway are interconnected. Improvements in banking support investment. Increased investment can stimulate business growth. Business growth can create employment opportunities. Employment growth can strengthen consumer activity. Together, these developments can contribute to a more dynamic economy. At the same time, challenges remain. Economic transformation is rarely straightforward. Iraq continues to face obstacles, including infrastructure needs, bureaucratic hurdles, regional uncertainties, and the ongoing task of implementing reforms consistently across institutions. Recognizing these challenges does not diminish the progress being made. Rather, it provides a realistic framework for evaluating developments. One reason long-term observers may feel particularly encouraged is that reforms often appear more meaningful when viewed collectively rather than individually. A single policy change may seem modest. However, when multiple reforms occur across banking, investment, governance, infrastructure, and technology, the cumulative effect can become more significant. This may explain why some individuals who have followed Iraq's progress for many years describe recent months as unusually active. The pace of announcements, policy initiatives, and reform efforts can create a sense of momentum. Momentum itself is important because it can influence business confidence, public expectations, and investor perceptions. Confidence plays a powerful role in an economic development. Businesses are more likely to invest when they believe conditions are improving. Consumers are more likely to spend when they feel optimistic about the future. International partners are more likely to engage when they see evidence of stability and progress. However, confidence should always be grounded in facts. Responsible analysis requires distinguishing between measurable developments and assumptions. While momentum is encouraging, long-term outcomes ultimately depend on successful implementation and sustained policy effectiveness. Another area attracting attention is Iraq's growing integration with regional and international economic networks. Enhanced cooperation with neighboring countries can facilitate trade, investment, energy partnerships, and infrastructure development. These relationships can create new economic opportunities and strengthen Iraq's position within the broader regional economy. Regional connectivity projects, transportation initiatives, and trade agreements have the potential to support long-term growth. Greater connectivity can improve market access, reduce costs, and encourage economic activity across multiple sectors. Such developments may not immediately impact currency valuations, but they contribute to the overall economic environment that influences long-term financial performance. For Dinar followers hoping for significant changes in the future, patience remains essential. Economic transformations often unfold over years rather than weeks or months. While periods of acceleration can occur, sustainable progress typically requires consistent implementation of reforms over extended periods. History demonstrates that successful economic development is usually the result of cumulative improvements, rather than single events. Countries that achieve long-term growth often do so through ongoing efforts to strengthen institutions, improve productivity, encourage investment, and maintain financial stability. This perspective helps explain why many analysts focus on fundamentals rather than speculation. Fundamentals provide a clearer picture of economic health and long-term potential. Banking reforms, fiscal discipline, investment growth, infrastructure development, and governance improvements may not generate immediate excitement, but they often have lasting significance. The statement encouraging followers to remain grounded is particularly important. Excitement surrounding economic developments is understandable, especially when progress appears to be accelerating. However, maintaining realistic expectations allows observers to evaluate information more objectively. Markets and economies rarely move in perfectly predictable ways. Unexpected events, global economic conditions, geopolitical developments, and domestic policy decisions can all influence outcomes. A balanced approach acknowledges both opportunities and uncertainties. Looking ahead, analysts will likely continue monitoring several key indicators. These include the pace of banking reforms, foreign investment activity, infrastructure development, fiscal management, reserve levels, non-oil economic growth, and broader economic diversification efforts. Progress across these areas will provide valuable insight into Iraq's economic trajectory. Short-term implications may include continued attention on reform implementation, investment initiatives, and financial modernization efforts. These developments could contribute to improved economic confidence and greater international engagement. Long-term implications are potentially more significant. If reforms continue successfully and economic diversification gains momentum, Iraq could strengthen its position as an important regional economic player. Such progress would support broader economic stability and create opportunities for sustainable growth. For Iraqi Dinar followers, the most constructive approach is to focus on verified developments and measurable indicators, rather than assumptions. Economic progress should be evaluated based on evidence, outcomes, and long-term trends. This approach helps maintain perspective and supports informed decision-making. There is no doubt that recent months have generated increased attention within the Iraqi Dinar community. The pace of activity, reform announcements, and economic initiatives has led many observers to believe that Iraq is entering an important phase of development. Whether this momentum continues will depend on the successful execution of policies and the country's ability to maintain reform progress over time. As always, The story of Iraq's economy is larger than any single event. It is a story of modernization, institution building, economic diversification, and long-term development. The reforms taking place today may ultimately be remembered not because of short-term speculation, but because of their contribution to building a stronger and more resilient economy for the future. Thank you for watching today's Iraqi Dinar News Update. If you appreciate responsible, factual, and balanced coverage of Iraqi Dinar developments and Iraq's economy, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Remember, this content is provided for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered financial, investment, or trading advice. Always conduct your own research and consult qualified financial professionals before making any investment decisions.